Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick, and today, guys, we're going to be jumping back down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at what's been going on most recently and what we think is likely to happen next here. As I get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and you will stay up to date with all the video content that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out, linked in the description down below. It's the first place that we go to notify you of the ins and the outs of everything that is going on in the crypto space. So yeah, check it out. Keep a finger on the pulse of crypto by joining us down in Discord. Okay, let's jump on down into this analysis. A Bitcoin paired up with USDT on the hourly chart, and Binance is the data source. Now, in this video, I will be doing Elliott Wave theory. Linked in the description below, there is a link to the 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗠𝗠𝗘𝗥𝗦. Check out the Elliott Wave theory course if any of this is alien to you. We are running 50% off during January, so check that out if you're looking for more information on Elliott Wave theory. Okay, let's get into this, right? So as you can kind of see, my higher expectations on this ABC structure comes in around the $17,066. This dashed line just up here, this hasn't changed. And the minimum expectations with this A wave here is at 17,061. Okay, so we know that we've potentially reached a bit of an interesting kind of area here where we haven't really reached the full potential of where Bitcoin could have gone in this particular run. In fact, we still haven't reached the minimum expectation of 17,061 yet. So we've got to be a little bit aware that over the weekends, the volumes are usually low, and we can see that right in here as we're kind of just hovering around our demand area. Okay, now this particular demand area is an area that was previously supplied. So over here, we can see that it was a lot of resistance. We broke through it, and now we're just testing down here again, and this time it is a demand zone. Okay, so essentially this is where buyers are. However, this happens to also fall on the weekend, which has basically put us on a bit of a back foot, because essentially there isn't terribly too much volume in the market, specifically from retail investors that are able to really significantly push the price of BTC to the upside. However, I still expect further upside. And one of the things that we should be concerned with here is that we might have to go down before we can go up, before we can actually hit these higher expectations. So I do want to kind of just focus in on a couple of things in this video, because this sideways trade here, a lot of people might think is it an interesting kind of structure? And essentially it is an interesting structure. They might think that it is a flag kind of situation, and we can kind of draw in a couple of trend lines to kind of try to help illustrate this where possible, right? We kind of have this pole coming up here, and if I grab my pencil and I just kind of draw a pole in here, you kind of see this pole section just coming in here to the upside, and then we kind of have the flag right in here, right? And so you kind of, some people will think of it like this. However, I don't think that's really a good kind of way of looking at it, not from an Elliott Wave theory point of view. Now, of course, we could look at this maybe as a triangle, and triangles are usually in B waves or wave 4. So the only two places that they can be, so B wave or wave 4. This would be a B wave situation right in here, because it does mean that that C wave can then launch up quite a bit. So there are some rules when it comes to Elliott Wave theory and triangles, so we'd have to be kind of keep an eye on what those are. And again, we've got the Cheeky School linked in it below if you're not familiar, and you can kind of check it out. In Discord, we also have a few resources available as well, so you can kind of get the cheat sheets and know exactly what to look for. Now, when it comes to triangles, these are defined by A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, and depending on where you enter into the triangle, ultimately determines where you exit. And these things look exactly the same, but they just are drawn in the opposite way around, right? So these things might look exactly the same like this, and the only difference is obviously one is flipped and one is reversing to the other, right? So if the A wave is at the bottom, then your E wave is at the bottom, and if the A wave is at the top, the E wave is at the top. Now this is important because essentially that determines the direction of the next move. So here, if we are in a triangle, we would have to see a couple of key things, right? Each wave within a triangle can only be 3 waves, okay? So it'd have to be a WXY or an ABC structure inside that any of those A through E, right? So if we were to think of this as a triangle, we'd have to kind of map it out in such a way where we actually saw 3 waves in each of these, okay? And for the most part, do we really see that? I mean, we don't really see the E wave with anything concrete just yet. So we might actually find ourselves having to, as I said, break on down before we can break on up, right? And the E wave is unpredictable. So the E wave could shoot all the way down here before rallying as well. So if we are to think of this as an E wave structure and a triangular based structure, then we need to be paying very close attention to the E wave in itself, because that is going to determine whether or not we come down before we can rally on up. And looking at it at the moment, we've got a lot of wicks going on in here, and it is not conclusive. We could obviously jump down into the smaller time frames and really pay attention to it, but for now, I think it's probably best to really focus in and see what happens over the next few hours, specifically in this key area that we're in. Now, from our stochastic RSIs down here, we're nice and oversold on the 1 hour chart. Okay, on our daily chart we are overbought, which means there's a limited amount of room to the upside to be had. Now, with that being said, we can of course stay overbought for quite some time. The 8 hour is also overbought. In the 4 hour, if I come over to it, is just peaking down from this overbought area. This is telling us that actually momentum's about to shift downwards, and it's going to be pretty brutal by the looks of it. So, for example, if I come into the stochastics here, we take a look at that daily, we're right up here in the overbought area, which means we're going to have to come on down. We've seen this time and time again, right? Now, you can stay up here for a time, you can stay up here for a period of time, and you can be up here really, really quick. You reach the peak and then you drop straight back down again, right? So you cannot think of the stochastic RSI as an indication as to how, you know, a market reversal or time spent or anything like that. It is simply showing us momentum has kind of run out to the upside, and we should be thinking about momentum shifting downwards, right? And so price should start to kind of retrace. Doesn't have to be massive retracements either. It just needs to have enough of a momentum move that basically wipes the stochastic back down towards the oversold area. Now, if we come into the 20 hour, it's a very similar story. You're starting to see this pulled out back already, right? You're kind of seeing it right there. On the 16 hour, you can see it kind of dancing around at the top here. The 12 hour, very much the same. The 8 hour, very much the same. The 4 hour just coming down, and the hourly in the oversold area. So if we were to break all of those timeframes down and we were to start really reflecting on them, what is it that we should be expecting? Well, if this is a triangle, I would expect typical wave E kind of things to occur here where we break down. And it's possible that actually what we end up doing is retesting maybe the 200 EMA, or even coming down towards our demand area a little bit lower. Now, this would enter in around the 16,787 range. So we would lose a few $100s off Bitcoin. It really isn't really the end of the world or anything like that, but it would basically liquidate a few people, I would have thought. Now, if I throw in some HTF liquidity here, this actually then takes a look at all the various areas that people have been loading up in their long positions. And yeah, you could see some liquidity down here. And there is also a pretty reasonable amount up here towards our targeted range anyway, right? So we do know that there is that move to the upside. The only question I would have is, are the market makers going to come down, wipe out the momentum on the 4 hourly stochastic RSI, marry that up with our hourly, and then kind of move up to grab all this liquidity here, and before maybe having a deeper correction, okay? I'm pretty confident we're going to have to move up. The only thing I'm not 100% confident on is whether or not we end up moving down before we move on up. So with this, we do have that minimum expectation of 17,061. So I do think we're going to have to come up into this higher range here. Moving up higher, more towards kind of where my kind of macro level expectations were at 17,200 to 17,400. That's going to be a tougher push and a much bigger ask, considering the positions on those larger timeframes and momentum on those larger timeframes. So we want to be a little bit optimistic where we can, and maybe a little bit pessimistic also from time to time. Now, if this is a triangular pattern, as I said, then this could potentially be an area that we consider a B wave, okay? And what we can actually then think about is this move to the upside here. And if we do this, then actually that does bring us up into our supply range. We can forget about the 1.618 at this point because it's irrelevant now. So it would basically just be pushing up into our kind of where we thought things were going to go originally. And it does mean that we overextend on that C wave, but there's nothing major more going on there. Now, this would be a C wave macro, as you can kind of see in here. It's a bit messy now, guys, but you can kind of see the A coming up here towards the 17,061, the B wave coming down towards our lows in the previous demand area, and then a rally up to this major supply. Once we hit this major supply area, I do expect us then to move down, get back down to the bear market low at the moment towards 15K, and then we bounce on up, something similar to this, and then obviously come down into those actual macro lows according to our daily chart, which are showing us moving down towards the 13,200 and 14,200. So just be aware that on the micro kind of hourly charts and the smaller time frame charts, there's definitely momentum to the upside to be had, but not on the larger ones. And we don't want to get caught out. Now, if this is a B wave movement, then of course we can have that rally to the upside. However, there is still the chance and the possibility that actually all of this here is not going to rally up like that, and it could be a running flat correction, and the running flat correction would be an incredibly complex scenario, and it would probably have to be an ending diagonal based running flat, and it would be very, very odd, but it would be a possibility. So we want to kind of keep our options open at this point and not get too carried away. One of the things that I'm confident on overall, whether or not we end up with this slightly higher B-wave movement, is a move to the downside. So kind of keep your options open where possible is probably the only thing I would say. And I do think that we have some interesting times ahead here for BTC. So if it is a running flat, then we would have already peaked into this C wave structure here, okay, just short of our actual A wave high, and it would be an ending diagonal based structure under the 33333 structure. And so yeah, we'll be kind of aware that that's a possibility that could be playing out here on Bitcoin. If not, and we do break above 1761, then of course everything else I spoke about today is valid, and we can come up into these higher ranges before coming back down again. So lots of things to think about, can be reasonably complex, but one of the things I'm pretty confident on overall is a move to the downside on the near horizon. I don't think we are done with the lows for Bitcoin just yet, and I said it before and I'll say it again, it's possible that 13,200 is the bear market low, but until we actually get down and see what happens afterwards, so whatever structure emerges after that, it's anyone's kind of guess as to whether that will actually remain a low point for BTC. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, guys. Interested to kind of get your take on where you think Bitcoin is going. If you found it useful, smash that like button, I appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to join us down in Discord, guys. Until the next one, have a fantastic day.